Today we will talk about the UFO incident in Tehran, Iran. On the night of September 18, 1976, at 10:30 p.m., Hossein Pirouzi, who was performing traffic control at the Mehrabad International Airport Tower in the center of Tehran, received a call from a woman who said she saw an object emitting dazzling red and yellow lights in the northeast of the airport. The object was shaped like a helicopter rotor, but with only one rotor and no fuselage. A few minutes later, he received another call from a citizen who also saw the object. That night, a total of 4 people called and said the same thing, some saying it was a glowing bird. Considering that not everyone knows the phone number of the airport tower, and the time was not too late, more people may have witnessed it that night. After hanging up the phone, Pirouzi picked up his binoculars and looked towards the northeast of the airport. To his surprise, he really saw the glowing object emitting high-intensity yellow, red, and green lights moving slowly about 2 kilometers above the ground. He contacted Nader Yousefi, the deputy commander of the Iranian Air Force, to report this. Yousefi initially thought that this kind of phenomenon was usually a star, but with Pirouzi's persistent efforts, he also saw the object through a telescope and immediately took it seriously. Since the brightness, color, and speed of the object were clearly not stars, and no military helicopter was on a mission in that airspace that night, Yousefi notified the Hamadan Air Force Base more than 100 kilometers away from Tehran, which was the closest Air Force base to the capital. The base dispatched a fighter jet to investigate. At that time, Iran was in a honeymoon period with the United States, and the base sent an F-4E Phantom II fighter purchased from the United States, which was an advanced fighter at the time. The fighter took off at 1:30 am. That is to say, 3 hours later, the object was still flying in the night sky. Due to the high brightness of the object, it could be clearly seen from 100 kilometers away. The pilot at the time was named Yadi Nazari, who reported as soon as he took off and could locate the position of the object visually. However, because it was too bright, he could not see the shape of the object, and the radar on the plane detected that the object was 3.6 kilometers above the ground. The order the pilot received at that time was to observe the appearance of the object. But when it approached the object within 20 nautical miles, the object suddenly moved further away. At this point, it used the F-4E's maximum speed of 2 Mach to chase after the object. But when it approached the object again, the fighter's navigation and radio equipment suddenly lost all functionality. At this point, he felt a sense of fear, so he immediately turned back to base. But what he didn't expect was that when he flew a distance after turning back, the plane's avionics equipment resumed operation. On the way back, he reported the just encounter. Deputy Commander Yousefi sent out a second fighter jet. This time the pilot was Parvez Jaffrey. But unexpectedly, he encountered a more bizarre incident than the first pilot. The second pilot, Parvez Jaffrey, approached the object in just 3 minutes, and the object displayed on the radar cover was the size of a KC-35 tanker. The volume was quite large. Similarly, when the fighter approached the object within 20 nautical miles, the radar showed that the object had jumped further away. Jaffrey later estimated that the object had jumped tens of nautical miles away in an instant.
You can't imagine, all of a sudden, it jumped from here to here, just like that.
Persistently chased the object and probably saw its appearance, which seemed to be composed of 4 flickering pots in red, green, yellow, and blue with extremely high brightness. Just then, the object suddenly released a red ball and flew towards the fighter jet. After reporting to the commander in Paris, the commander ordered that they could strike back, so Paris started the fighter jet SAM-9 air-to-air missile. But he found that the launch device of the missile was malfunctioning.
Both arms so I could fire. When I looked back on the left side of the instrument panel, the weapon panel was out, no light on it.
He had to maneuver immediately to avoid the light ball, but the ball kept following him. At that time, Pirouzi at the tower saw the fighter jet coming, and the light ball behind it surpassed the fighter, flew over its head, and then returned to the main luminous body. Amari noticed the light ball returning and went to observe it again. He saw the main luminous body shoot a light ball from below, which descended to the desert area and landed on the ground, illuminating the whole 2 kilometers of desert area as bright as day. The fighter jet was preparing to go to the location where the light ball landed to observe, but at this time, its avionics and weapon systems all failed, and it was almost flying by naked eye. This generation of nights is very dangerous, but as long as it maintains a certain distance from the light ball, the fighter's avionics will recover. In this way, the fighter jet's fuel was almost depleted, and it finally landed at Mehrabad International Airport while the luminous body was still hovering in the air. According to Piruz at the tower, the luminous body did not disappear until 4 a.m. the next day. The next day, a helicopter carrying a pilot went to the location where the light ball landed and found a dried-up lake bed, without any traces of landing. However, they accidentally heard a valuable piece of information. A family living near the lake bed said that they heard a buzzing sound last night, and then the outside of the house emitted a strong light like daylight, which lasted for a while before disappearing. This is consistent with what the pilot saw. Piruz at the tower later drew a rough picture of the luminous body, which seemed to have 4 movable petal-like strictures. The center of the claws emitted red light, but he said it was something he had never seen before. The Iranian Air Force sent this report to the CIA and the U.S. Air Force, and the Blue Book program was in its final stages at the time. The U.S. Air Force and the CIA were both interested in this Tehran UFO incident because it was completely different from previous saucer-shaped UFOs and seemed to be a new type of UFO. At that time, Colonel Roland Evans of the U.S. Air Force was responsible for investigating this incident and wrote a briefing, believing that it was a typical UFO incident because it met all the characteristics of a UFO. The briefing was declassified through the Freedom of Information Act in 2009 and classified as confidential. It is clear from this resume file that the description of the object is unidentified flying objects or UFOs with a bird-like shape or brightly emits light. The helicopter is a light-emitting helicopter. So this briefing basically restored what happened that night. If it were not for the Freedom of Information Act, we would not have known the details of this UFO incident so clearly. One detail is that the incident was defined as confidential in the briefing at the time. According to the security check clauses of the U.S. federal government's classified documents, from low to high, they are classified as confidential, secret, top secret, and a level said to be beyond top secret. With such an incredible phenomenon in the Tehran incident, it was only defined as the lowest level of confidential. It can be imagined what happened in the Roswell incident defined as higher than the top 3 levels. In 2009, after the Tehran incident, the pilot of the second fighter jet, Parvez Jaffrey, was invited to attend a press conference in the United States and once again explained what happened 33 years ago that night.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Parvez Jaffari and I'm a retired general of Iranian Air Force. At the time, I was a squadron commander. I approached the object, which was flashing with intense red, green, orange, and blue. Whenever they were close to me, my weapons were jammed and my radio communications were garbled.
According to different eyewitness reports from around the world, the shapes of UFOs vary. In addition to the most common disc-shaped ones, there are also triangular, cigar-shaped, spherical, and other shapes. Among them, the number of sightings of spherical UFOs is relatively higher than that of other shapes of UFOs, and they are also clearer. The true shape of this spherical UFO may not be spherical, but it emits high-intensity light throughout its body. When viewed from a distance, it looks like a sphere, just like the halo effect of strong light in photography. One of the main features of spherical UFOs is the phenomenon of decomposition and fusion, which is similar to the behavior of UFOs in the Iran-Tehran incident. Like butterfly-shaped UFOs, these spherical UFOs can perform incredible maneuvers such as teleportation, which indicates that they utilize the Earth's natural magnetic field, a technology that may have become a standard for interstellar civilizations. Technology may be the perfect solution for movement on the surface of a planet. Another feature of spherical UFOs is that they can detach one or more small spheres from a larger sphere and then merge them again. This separation performance sometimes takes place even in the city center as if there is no special purpose, just like a pure high-tech exhibition. In this regard, spherical UFOs are one level higher than those flickering and elusive disc-shaped UFOs and gray alien races. Because when your civilization level is completely superior to another civilization and you are not in danger, you will be fearless. For example, when we observe wild animals in the wilderness, we will hide because we need to consider our own safety. But if we observe ants or insects, we will not hide at all. Therefore, when extraterrestrial civilizations observe us, because their level of civilization and technology is different, they will appear in different ways in front of us. If one day they appear in front of you without any concealment, you don't need to be afraid at all because they are not interested in harming you at all. You should know that higher civilizations love peace, and only those who are one level lower than them will fight.